Geeks. No one talks Trek like we do.
Hello and welcome back to We Are Starfleet. We are in our new home and continuing our coverage of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. It starts now.
We Are Starfleet has moved to join the Trek Geeks network of podcasts. Things might look slightly different and we may have some new things to say, but we are still the same old Trek-loving podcast. Follow us at Starfleet Pod on Blue Sky and Instagram, and check out the website wearestarfleetpod.com for more about the show, your hosts, and links to over 100 different podcast episodes.
I'm your host, Mike Slamer, and we have the full crew of the USS Enterprise here with Ashley Thomas, Ian Buckley, and Craig McKenzie. But before we get started, there's a little something we got to say.
Folks, Ashley Thomas here. I am here to tell you all about Fansets. Fansets is the presenting sponsor of Trek Geeks. They have done a phenomenal job of creating gorgeous designer Star Trek pins and other fandoms as well, like Ultraman. Folks, I'm looking at their page right now with some of their newest things in stock. They have pins from Star Trek, the animated series. Who does that?
Nobody.
I think that is super... I don't know of anybody. I think that's super, super cool. We've got a Enterprise patch. Yeah, they don't do just pins. They do patches. They've got all kinds of great stuff from Starfleet Academy. They've got master ships where you can like get a little miniature of the ship, like a pen kind of thing. It's really cool. I'll tell you this, folks. I was gifted last year the Lieutenant Ortegas in the Lower Deck style, like from the crossover episode. And my gal Ortegas, she rides on my handbag of holding. R.I.P. Think Geek. But I never have to worry about her falling off my bag like I do some of the other pins. And let me tell you, I have got like some like +5 chainmail on that bag in terms of just pins. So, but that one's definitely my favorite. So, folks, if you want to hook yourself up, treat yourself with some fantastic Fansets pins and merch, all you got to do is go to their website, fansets.com, and put in the discount code Trek Geeks, all caps, no spaces. You'll get 10% off your entire order. You'll get free shipping when you spend $30 or more at Fansets, and let me tell you, it's going to be really hard to not do that. There's so many cool things they've got there. You'll get free shipping in the U.S. All right, folks. Again, be sure to check them out, fansets.com. They are the presenting sponsor of Trek Geeks.
Thank you.
And now,
thank you, Ashley.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I think two things. Number one, I can't believe you name dropped Think Geek. What a throwback.
I almost said,
I mean,
remember Think Geek? And then I didn't want to interrupt Ashley's flow.
It's okay. I was going to say it anyway because I bought a metric ton of stuff from Think Geek.
Yeah, me too.
And I still use like pretty much all of it. Like my Lieutenant Uhura bathrobe, I bought that on Think Geek in like 2011. And the thing is 15 years old and I'm still rocking it. Not right now because it's a bajillion degrees. But, still rocking that thing. It's still in good shape. My handbag of holding is awesome. I had a bunch of friends that liked it so much. A bunch of my best gals over here. Literally 3 different gals bought that same bag after I bought it because they all thought it was so cool. So, but yeah, alas, R.I.P. Think Geek and your super cool and sturdy merch.
The other thing I noticed about Fansets as I look through their website and at different pins, I have some badges, but seeing all the new release stuff, if you filter by new, like they have a Starfleet Academy War College Mugato mascot logo. And they have the Laplings logo. They've got all like the little things that as a fan you think about and you're like, man, that would be cool. If I could get just like a little patch or a little pin of that, I would rock that all the time. And that's what Fansets has. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. They make good quality products. So, folks, go check them out. Fansets.com. Use the offer code TrekGeeks, all caps, no spaces. You'll get 10% off your entire order. And if you spend more than $30, you will get free shipping in the U.S.
That's a good deal. Speaking of Star Trek, we got some new stuff from Star Trek Strange New Worlds coming, and this is pretty exciting. We're in season 4, Craig. Season 4 of 5 seasons. You know that they cut season 5 down to 6 episodes, right?
I do. Yep.
Yeah. Bummer. Boo.
Yeah.
Well,
we are all dismayed.
I was under the impression that the 6 was instead of 0. Is that? I thought that was the reporting. Was that 4 was originally going to be the end, and then they were talked into giving them 6 to wrap things up.
Ooh, was that the breakdown?
That was. I remember reading that at some point. It's not like we're a Star Trek podcast who would check this kind of stuff, but
no.
Well, it's been a while since that news.
It's been a minute.
We've had a whole other.
Yeah.
We've had a whole other Star Trek series to talk about since then. We've all had a few naps in between now and then.
Oh yeah,
so.
there's been several holidays.
A few.
Yeah.
And I probably dismissed it as absolute nonsense, tried to by the showrunner to make themselves sound much more influential than they actually are.
I could also be.
You never know.
But we have new Trek is always welcome. I'm very excited about it. I know that throughout coverage of season 3, the 4 of us were collectively like, yeah, this is good, this is fine, this could have been done better. But now coming into season 4, we have, we've seen some material. Ian, let me come to you first. How are you feeling? Are you feeling optimistic? Is it cautiously optimism? Is it, what's your take?
I mean, my baseline attitude, we've talked about this before, is that, there's more Star Trek. Like, that's a good thing. That makes me happy. There's no Star Trek series that's ever come out since its inception where I've enjoyed every single episode, but I've always been excited for new Star Trek to be given a chance to win me over. And, I think like you characterized, my journey with Strange New Worlds has been a little up and down, but a lot of ups. Like I've been very happy with a lot of the output of the series. So yeah, I was sort of mid-excited, like looking forward to it. I do think that it's impossible not to acknowledge the kind of the atmosphere of excitement around Star Trek just isn't what it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, where it seemed like the possibilities for the future were somewhat limitless, like they were willing to try new things or at least greenlight new shows. There was talk at one point about there being new Star Trek every single week, and while I think we were all feeling like a little bit of excitement and skepticism combined when that was announced, there was certainly a sense of, there's just going to always be some new Star Trek down the line. And season 4 is the first one to come out since that illusion has been completely shattered. And so I think there's an overall sense of, we know the show has wound down. 5 has wrapped. The sets are broken down. This show is over and has been over for months before season 4 even has a chance to premiere. And so it's an odd kind of atmosphere as fans to, in which to embrace a new season of Star Trek. And so I'd say excited-ish. That's a long-winded way of saying I'm excited-ish.
Sure. I mean, the sets, like all the props, the uniforms, everything's up for auction right now.
I wish I had money to throw at that. That would be cool. But yeah, it's a bummer. Like, I know I came out of season 3 feeling like everything was just extremely fine. I didn't feel that hype about most of the episodes with the exception of Terrarium. And y'all know why. For those of you just tuning in to We Are Starfleet for the first time on the Trek Geeks Network, Lieutenant Ortegas is my favorite character, and so anytime we get even just a little smidgen of hashtag Mortegas, I am there for it, and I'm very excited about it. So obviously I was really hyped about Terrarium. So this season, looking at just this pilot, or this first episode, I was having a really good time. I was very pleasantly surprised, and I'm excited to talk about it with you guys today.
Fair enough. Craig, how are you feeling coming into season 4 here?
Well, season 4 has to work really hard to win me over after season 3. Season 3 just broke something in me. I found it a very frustrating experience, and going into season 4, I was thinking it was already filmed before we saw season 3, so the show is what it is. And maybe it's maybe possible that they noticed that something wasn't clicking while they were making season 3, and they corrected when writing season 4. It's too early to tell yet, but I went into the season with a lot of trepidation. And I still feel that trepidation. It really needs to win me over.
Understandable.
Like I say, season 3 was it's breaking me down. It wasn't good.
I love it. I love it. I love it. It's just like this constant, overwhelming sense of like, I'm supposed to love this, but I'm just having a hard time loving it. You know,
Yeah.
and trying to get your arms around that is just tough. It's just tough. But yeah, Strange New Worlds. We are in season 4. Today we're going to be discussing episode 1, Valles Marineris. Marineris. Sure. Excuse my Latin.
We'll, yeah, I don't know that any of us speak Latin or some variation of whatever that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the characters in the episode speak Latin because it was
Yeah.
quite a while before the language was
Yeah,
invented.
seriously.
Also, V's are pronounced as W's if you're saying it in Latin, so it would be Wallace.
Okay, well, I guess it's not Latin. It is. Honestly, it's almost closer to Spanish with that double L. Like,
It was said in the episode. It's the name of
Yeah.
a valley,
Yeah.
basically.
Valles. I almost said Marinara.
I think it's the name of
Valles
that giant
Mar-
scar in the face of Mars.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Valles Marineris. Sure. Okay, we're
Yep.
gonna stop and talk about the episode.
Yep.
That we can't pronounce.
Spaghetti
Did
carbonara.
they not just call the episode Jurassic Trek? Because that's what everybody's going to call it.
I was calling it the Clever Girls Trip.
Oh, I like that. That'd have been. Honestly, we should get you on the episode naming business here. I gotta say the opening. Okay, first off, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to our listeners. Listen, folks, we're gonna get into spoilers. If you clicked on this podcast, if it's in your feed, and you're like, hell yeah, I definitely want to listen to Trek, and you haven't watched the first episode, you should pause now. Because we're just going to get right into it. We're going to talk spoilers, and we don't want to ruin anything for you. But also, if you're the type who's like, hell yeah, give me the spoiler, then keep on trekking on, if you know what I'm saying.
Do we want to give our big picture thoughts on the episode itself before we get into spoilers, or do we want to just get right into spoilers?
I think we've already fallen
Sure.
into that wormhole.
Let's do it.
Yep, let's do it.
Just like in the episode.
That's it. That's it. We're there.
Sure. Yeah, I thought that this was a overall pretty good episode. You know, like we were talking about, feeling like season 3 was kind of fine overall on average. Maybe Craig would not go quite that far, but I thought this was like a solid kind of like adventure of the week style episode, very much in the vein of, you know, TOS, but obviously rendered with modern technology, and you know, didn't bear the weight of a season 3 cliffhanger. So it was able to just be a solid episode of Star Trek. Honestly, it kind of reminded me a little bit of the series premiere, which obviously had some other business to do in terms of setting up the show itself. But in terms of that just being like here's an episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, this is what they're going to kind of be like, I thought this was a pretty good representation of a Strange New Worlds episode. B plus, to use the English or American grading system.
Go for it, Craig. Tell us your thoughts.
Okay, I thought this was fine. I thought it was a solid opener. It wasn't great. It didn't set the world on fire, but I didn't hate it. And I actually think it did some really good stuff, particularly between Pike and Commander Cassell. I thought that stuff was really good. The dinosaur stuff, we'll get into it. Could take or leave it, honestly, in the way that they executed it. Again, we'll get into it. When I reviewed it, I gave it 7 out of 10. So it's a solid start. It's a much higher rating than I gave most of season 3.
That's true.
So
Yeah, it's true.
All right.
Yeah. What do you think?
Oh,
Mike?
me? I'm right there with Craig and Ian. I thought this was a really solid episode to open the season with. I also thought it was super imaginative. It really brought me back to, like, the golden era of sci-fi in the 50s and the early 60s, and I felt like this could have been right at home with the original series. Just like Ian said, just punched up and looked a little better. I could easily see Kirk and Spock going back and fighting some dinosaurs, because why not? The dinosaurs would have been guys in suits, and that would have been hilarious.
Budget would be why not. That's the like, a script with dinosaurs in it would not get the green light for production back then.
Yep.
But
They might have got permission to use some Paramount movie that had dinosaurs and did some real.
I could see them definitely fighting like cavemen, like Back in Time for sure. Back in Time adventure, I could see.
Well, they did that in the original series.
No, of course,
Yeah,
a couple
they
times,
actually
but
did
yeah,
that.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
true. Yeah.
Right. So you can see this episode fitting in with that.
I agree pretty much with what you guys said. I thought this was a really solid opener. Mike, what you said about this feeling like it could have easily been a TOS episode if they'd had like the budget and special effects capability. Like I said, I had been calling this the clever girls trip, LOL, because that's funny to me. But I thought that this very much felt like a golden age sci-fi story, which is that's kind of my heart there. I have a real soft spot for classic sci-fi like that. So this episode worked really well for me. I really loved Saffron Burrows, who played Captain Cassell. I thought she was brilliant. I thought there's something to if I remember correctly, do they not reference Edgar Rice Burroughs' Princess of Mars?
They do.
In this episode?
Yep.
Yeah. So I kept thinking about that, even though that is not something I'm super duper familiar with. I've just seen John Carter. But I was like, I think this is kind of like Edgar Rice Burroughs. So, and then of course they cast Saffron Burrows to play SL. So anyway, happy coincidence there. Spelling's different, but whatevs. I had a good time with this one on a few different levels, and I think kind of the conclusions and the questions that this episode makes me ask are really what make it good for me, and it feels like a philosophical TOS episode. So I'm excited to talk with you guys about it.
Yeah, and there's nothing like a self-fulfilling prophecy to start a story with. Okay, so we know that Paramount is pretty much like going full on with their Boomer Town series, like Landman and Oil Town, Yellowstone.
Lube
so
me
the
up,
whole
baby.
Opening, all these riding on horseback shots, like take me out. Just I'm good with it. Let's move on. This is not the Western. I get it. Wagon train into the stars. I get it. Like spaghetti Western. Homage. Yeah, I get it. But I'm just not into.
It's probably
this
to
vision.
indulge the now producer Anson Mount with getting to ride around on.
Oh,
horse
is he a
with it.
producer now?
Yeah. Have you seen how many producers are in the opening credits? There's more producers than anything else. How many
They're
producers?
just giving them away.
He's
They're giving them
riding
away.
he's riding a horse in the series premiere. I go the other way. I'm very happy for them to be riding around on horseback. That's a lot of fun, especially when it's only the first couple of minutes. I think that's really a fun thing for the the actors to get a chance to do. They don't get a chance to do that much in Star Trek overall. So I'm happy for that to be something that they do, because that is as familiar an image as it is in our culture overall. It is a bit strange in Star Trek, so I like it.
True.
To me, that's part of the reason it felt like such a TOS episode. Because a lot of the TOS episodes were the forced creativity of what sets can we land on this week.
We're going to walk into this
and
saloon that this planet has.
Exactly. I always think about a piece of the action, and
Yep.
it's like, oh, we are suddenly mobsters because these costumes were available and this set was available. So I honestly kind of like that. To me, that felt like a good TOS style callback, and even outside of TOS, it's not the first time we've had a Star Trek start as a Western, but then this morphs into something completely
really
different.
does.
But I did enjoy that. Plus, we all know Anson Mount, great horseback rider, loves horses, much like Pike does, utterly unsentimental about anything except horses. Is what I always think of Una saying about
The man
him,
who
so.
has a saddle in his office. Yes.
Right, a record.
Yep.
That's all I think about whenever I see it. Yeah, so I enjoyed the opening. Plus, like, Babs has done some other kinds of films. Mr. Nerdy Blogger just watched something he did a couple years ago with, like,
League
Henry
of
Cavill
Ungentlemanly.
and Lisa Gonzalez.
Oh, yep.
Yeah,
That was good.
Yeah, it
He's
was,
not in that enough, but he is in it.
Yeah, that was like the main reason I wanted to watch it was because he was in it, and I missed it because it didn't. I guess it didn't perform as well as they wanted in the theater. But like, does he ride horses in that? Or is that
No,
Westerny
that is
kinda?
World War
I only
II
remember-
espionage.
Vaguely remembering.
Yeah.
Never mind.
And he's on a
JK.
boat.
They're
Never-
fighting Nazis.
He doesn't
like,
ride around.
good.
He doesn't ride around on sandworms in June either.
Yeah, there's that. So, but I just thought it was a fun way to open the episode and kind of call back to TOS.
What I love about it is this whole the opening sequence. They're on an away mission. They come back. You've got the captain's log recapping how everyone's tired. Everyone's they've been at it for the past 6 months. Guys, this is the plot to Star Trek Beyond. This is how that movie opens. It's the same thing. They're tired. Oh, there's a promotion on offer. Hey, Captain, do you want to maybe take this promotion?
Yeah, it's also Pike saying, "I'm upset that my girlfriend is sort of dead, so I'm just working the crew like dogs."
Yeah, and okay.
Like they want a day off, but he's not off. He's not for it.
I'm glad you brought that up because I kept thinking about Maria Battelle, like, and her sacrifice in the previous season, but there's no real lip service paid to it.
There's only
There's
there's
one
only
where-
lip service paid. Like that's the thing. There's no depth at which it's explored in any meaningful way. I mean, even if Pike is responding to the grief by diving into work, and so he's just one mission after the next, and the crew is bearing the brunt of that grind. Like, I think that's interesting stuff to explore. It's all subtext or even subtext. It's barely there in the episode, and I do feel like if you're gonna introduce the idea, they introduce the thought into the audience's head of maybe this is what's going on, but they don't really tap into it at all.
Well, it was interesting that Una tried to appeal to his love for the crew, his protection of the crew, by saying the crew would benefit from a day off rather than you would benefit from a day off, because he won't listen to her on that score. So it's a sense of how well she knows him.
Yeah.
That she's able to sort of manipulate him that way, and he's like, oh, yeah, maybe I should give them a day off, and then and I think there was, we will get to it, but I think there was a real opportunity to lean into the whole grief aspect and how this mission plays into it very specifically, because there is something there that could, in theory, help Pike process that, or at least begin to process it. But we'll get to it. It's a tease for
Definitely. The run-up to Admiral April sending them on this mission to observe this interstellar storm. So I had coincidentally watched the episode Lights of Zatar, and it's the Enterprise under Kirk encounters a space storm, and Spock says, this isn't a storm. There's no way a storm could exist in the vacuum of space. So immediately when April was like, oh, go visit this storm, this is not going to go the way that you think it's going to go.
It was described, well, it was a supernova, wasn't it, basically? It was how it was described.
Or the remnants of it.
Or like a supernova.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
just one of those weird things that can kill us.
There's
That's
a
what it
weird
is.
thing in space. Go look at it.
That's all.
At a distance.
That's their whole job. That's what they love to do. I love the way that these episodes, how the writers try and get our hero crew into these wacky zany situations. And speaking of wacky zany situations, how are we feeling about this new Vulcan cadet?
Did we catch a name?
I have a note of it. It's Rashawn or something. Yeah, I had to look at the closing credits to get it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Rashaw. Cadet Rashaw. Bianca Nagura is the actress who plays her.
Okay. Not someone I'm familiar with.
We've seen this before. We've had it in Lower Decks. We've had it in Prodigy. Just a Vulcan turns up and they're unpleasant, and people try to befriend them and they throw it back in their faces. It's the same old. This is how we treat Vulcans in this show. You shouldn't be doubling down on it at this point. And I know that feedback on 4.5 Vulcans arrived too late for you to react to it and not do this. But I'm just thinking, why do we need a new character? You're not really doing everything you can with the characters you have, and we still have Kirk dropping in every couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think this show's overall use of characters, particularly like side, more minor characters, is something that we can discuss like when we do a kind of post-mortem for the show overall, because it feels like it, to me, seems like missed opportunity after missed opportunity, and like Craig was saying, taking the wrong sort of lessons from characters like this in the past. I mean, we have seen this version. This is essentially like she's doing not a Jolene Blaylock, impersonation, but like this feels very T'Pol inflected, like this type of aloofness, and it's not an interesting enough variation on the theme for us to justify the kind of shoe leather that we're spending with the character, unless we're setting them up to die at some point, or which feels like another thing that these shows like to do these days is, here's a side character we've never introduced to you before, they've only ever been in the background, and we're giving them some attention so that you'll care, because either in this episode or before the end of the season something's going to happen to them, or they're going to be in peril, and we need you to care about it. But feels like they don't take the opportunity to weave these things in organically. And even when they have characters make like little quips or little jokes, they're oftentimes making them like as an aside or to themselves, rather than in dialogue with other characters that they're sometimes in the same room with. And I wish that they were a bit more selective about when to invest in these side characters and how to invest in them in a way that felt a little bit more consistent.
She's only in 2 scenes and then forgotten about, so her introduction in this episode is actually meaningless, because she just has that one scene with Uhura and then that one scene on the bridge.
And maybe they're setting stuff up for future episodes. Like that's fine. But if you're going to do that, then I think, Craig, to your point, we as fans, as longtime fans, would love to see a little bit of some kind of nuance, some kind of twist on Vulcan, because right now it just seems like it's straight down the line in the mode that we've seen now many times before.
I have a slightly different take. Also, I hope you all cannot hear the rain that just started pummeling down. Okay, good. I actually, the first time I watched it, I think I would have been in large agreement with you guys. I came away with a different opinion the second time I watched it. I think this was, regardless of how we feel about how they may or may not use this character, I think kind of the interesting lesson that we take away from Uhura's interaction with her is that it's a lesson in making assumptions. And, her assuming, oh, well, I'm super smart and really good at languages, so I'm going to speak Vulcan with you. And, oh, it turns out your accent's not that great. And please stop, because it is offensive. And I also, the thought about, oh, I know exactly how you must be feeling. Like, well, do you? Did you ask? And I think Uhura was not coming at it from a bad place. Like, she was wanting to be helpful. She was wanting to be kind. But she, and a lot of, this is a thing that happens a lot of times with, like, working in charity. Like, yeah, you want to do a good thing. You want to help people who might need a hand up. Okay. But have you talked with the people that might need a hand up? Have you asked them what they need? Like, have you taken that into consideration versus just doing what you think you should do without full context, full information? So I thought that is an interesting thing to take away from that personally. Now, how they use the character later in the season, we'll see. A good shout there with Jolene Blaylock vibes as T'Pol. She also reminded me of a little bit of Majel from Prodigy as well. So yeah, we'll see what we do with this gal. Cool hair though.
Yeah.
I like the it's giving both Uhura and Vulcan at the same time, and I like it.
Yeah, it's a good point you make, Ashley. I agree with you that the theme that they at least try to address there is worth exploring. I think, to underline like kind of what we were saying, I don't know if that point would have been any less valid if it had been a completely different species. Like it would still that interaction could remain basically the same with give us a strange new species instead of giving us the same mode of Vulcan-y behavior that we've seen many, many times before. Like, I think that's more, I think, what I was bumping up against personally. I don't want to speak for the others, but less so than the theme, which is, to your point, absolutely valid and definitely one worth exploring in Star Trek.
I viewed this sequence as this is for Uhura. This isn't necessarily giving us a new character.
Yeah.
This is for us to continue exploring Uhura's story and to give Uhura something to do. Now she's an ensign on the bridge of the Enterprise. And this is a new cadet. She was in that position, in the first season, so she's very familiar with it.
Right.
What I thought as kind of a way here, because Ian, I actually agree with you. I think if it were a different species, this would have landed so much more interestingly. And I was thinking, man, how cool would this have been if it was an Andorian? As opposed to a Vulcan, she had this great relationship with Hemmer, Engineer Hemmer, and lost her friend, and this could have been, the dialogue could have been exactly the same, and
we should have a Telluride
really
on the
nothing
bridge.
would have changed.
It's crazy. Like this
A
is
Telluride.
This is the era.
We got one in Med Bay.
I know.
Got one in Med
I'm
Bay.
just saying, like let's mix it up a bit here.
No, but I don't want to say no to new characters, but at the same time, like to your guys' point, we already have a lot of characters, and there's only so much screen time to go around, and there's a ticking clock on the end of this show. So
That too.
Why are we getting a new character too? But yeah, anyway.
Maybe she's a producer's daughter or something like that, and they
you
just
know.
wrote her in.
Nepotism.
Nepotism.
Love Strange New Worlds, the visual effects, the budget. We can't say enough about how beautiful everything looks. Going to this interstellar space storm. Okay, so Craig, I'm going to come to you. The absolute second that it was said, there's a distress signal, did you know what it was?
No, well, I did actually, because they released the clip of this.
Oh, did they?
That was the first look at season 4. Yeah, it was this sequence where they get sucked in, and then they, after detecting the distress beacon, and then they end up on the other side of it. And Pike says, "Launch a distress beacon," and I immediately thought that would be their own distress beacon that they detected and brought them back here. And you can see it foreshadowed as well, where Pelia says something about it's when space-time goes crazy, or whatever the line is. So it is very well foreshadowed that, this is a temporal loop type situation that we're in here. But yeah, I predicted that when they released that initial clip some months ago.
Well, you also have the whole thing. Well, the last time I was in one of these, I was in a telephone box.
Yes, has she been hanging around with the Doctor?
I mean, they already alluded to that last season. I'm not mad about it. I mean, in my head, Pelia is basically Space Mary Poppins. But you know what? Let's let her be a doctor's companion as well. That's awesome. Or maybe she's just the doctor.
There's your crossover.
Well, no, I think they phrased it differently, like to say that she was the companion last season. I'd have to go back and check. But yeah, I like it. I
don't know what to tell the producers of the show, all 300 of them. There's no Doctor Who in production, so you're not.
Well, I don't know how to tell you. There's no. Yeah, I was just gonna say there's no Strange New Worlds in production. It's done.
Yeah, it's the first time in 60 years we haven't had either Star Trek or Doctor Who in active production.
What a pleasant
like
note to strike.
What a pleasant statistic that is.
Yeah, seriously. Ashley, I loved all the back and forth between Ortegas and Scotty. The tension. They're just gearing up for a fight, huh?
I mean, I just felt like it was like watching a conversation with me and Craig about an episode of Star Trek we either like and didn't like.
Nice.
Love you, Craig, but we it's fine. It's fine. It just I enjoy their banter, and I noticed in because I follow Melissa on the gram. I think I follow Martin now as well, but I noticed they were like during filming they were buddy a lot and like hanging out like off screen or off the set, like going to plays and stuff. So I'm watching this now. I was like, aha, I see. Okay, so are we setting up for more of their, bestie interaction time or frenemy interaction time? Maybe they'll become besties. Who knows? But this, I think, was really fun to watch about their back and forth of, I'm trying to do what I want with the ship. And you're like, no, you can't do that. Sorry for that horrible Scottish accent.
Yeah, that's
oh my gosh.
did.
I'm so sorry, bro. I'm so sorry.
We're about to have
Please
an
forgive
interaction
me.
about
Okay,
bad
I'm not-
accents.
I know. I mean, they had one on screen. He's like, I don't sound like that. Like,
Yeah,
I'll do
no,
it
I-
again. I'm sorry. Okay. Here, just talking a southern accent, Craig, like twice will be even. It'll be
No,
good.
I'm not doing it. I'm not sinking to your
Looks
level.
like you just heard
I'm
us
gonna rise above
slur.
it.
I'm sorry, bro.
man.
I'm sorry. I'll send you some lager.
Yeah,
There
do
you go.
that.
The peace offering. The peace
There you go.
offering.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's a good tension moment that works.
Yeah.
Especially when they cut to the visual of the Enterprise, kind of like circling the drain, if you will, and the back and forth between their faces. It definitely sets up for this season some sort of tension between them that I'm sure will wink have resolved in the next couple of episodes. So I look forward to seeing where that goes for sure.
Yeah.
So power down, no sensors. One thing, Craig, I gotta ask you this. Iridium, I thought it was dilithium that we used for the antimatter chambers, but did they change it? Is this a blank spot that I have?
It might just be there's another component that's required to make it work. But yeah, I did wonder that myself.
I think
as well,
dilithium is
and
used to regulate,
I don't
not
know.
to fuel.
Every time they said Uridium, all I could hear was Marvin the Martian in my head saying the Uridium Q-36 space
It's like
modulator.
we get it. It's unobtainium. We get it. Like it's
We get
it's
it.
the thing. It's the thing. they
I
need.
was just thinking about Mass Effect. I was just thinking
Yeah.
about Mass Effect 2 all the time. I spent mining planets to find that was one of the resources.
Amazing. We land in some part of space, no sensors, because the stuff that powers a ship is all gone, but functionally life support is perfectly fine. Shuttle bays work perfectly fine. The power's good otherwise. I'm sure the holodeck works too.
Gravity,
Yeah.
doors, lift, elevators, everything. Everything's fine except the stuff that they need.
Correct. So we do know that there are conveniently 3 M-class planets in range, and of course only one of them has a source of iridium. So we have ourselves an away mission. I gotta say, watching this episode, when I watched it for the first time, I sort of caught the sense that we're in familiar space. Something about the setup told me that we're in familiar space. I was not prepared for the reveal that we are literally in the solar system and the 3 M-class planets, interestingly. So, I don't know. Let's talk about this for a second. Ian.
Oh, I thought it was a clever twist on the premise. I mean, when you did have previews that showed dinosaurs, it was definitely like they either find a dinosaur planet, just like Kirk found a freaking 30s gangster planet once, or they were going back in time to prehistoric Earth. So like in my mind, like the reveal wasn't exactly like a shock, but I will say it was one of those things where I was thinking to myself, man, like if I was a kid watching Star Trek, and this was my Star Trek coming out when I was a kid, if they had like found a way to combine like Star Trek and dinosaurs, it probably would have crapped my pants. Like I would have been very, very happy as a child. So I definitely had a bit of that, like part of myself activated by the episode. Like Craig, I was like a little mixed on exactly how they were ultimately used in the episode, but I had fun, with the reveal both of the dinosaurs and that these were in fact the dinosaurs of prehistoric Earth.
Yeah, I wasn't enamored with the whole dinosaur of it all.
Fine.
And I understand that it was probably a budget thing. They're in the volume and they have and they have a screen that they're standing in front of that has a dinosaur projected on it, and we can only show so much and so on. The problem I had with it was the characters didn't seem to be taking it seriously enough. They were all quippy and making jokes and making light of the situation, and if they're not afraid, then I'm not that interested. It's that if you've seen Jurassic Park, you're engaged because those characters are terrified. They're running away from velociraptors and T-Rexes and all this other stuff. They are very terrified, and we as the audience become scared as well because we're worried for their safety. But if Una's just like, yes, I'm just going to stun a T-Rex, it might eat me, ha ha ha, I'm just not engaged in that whole tension there. So when those scenes were playing out, I was just kind of waiting for them to finish because I wanted the characters to take it more seriously.
Yeah, they felt a little inert is kind of how I would put it. Like to Craig's point, I mean, I had the initial sort of superficial excitement of it, and then to Craig's point, like the threat never really felt visceral, and the action, I think, because of the limitations of how they were able to achieve these effects and interact with them, the action isn't quite as like dynamic as we've come to expect for when there's like dinosaur action on the screen. We're used to seeing, like we've seen dinosaur media many times. We all grew up with it. If they're not interacting with them in a certain way, it can feel a little, like Craig said, like a little light, a little inauthentic almost.
I mean, I enjoyed the quippy parts. Maybe just because I am a smartass.
I just think the quips also just need to. I mean, like any humor in Star Trek,
You'd be less of one if you were faced with a T-Rex.
I think the quips
fair,
also need to just be better. Sometimes, like there's like that issue that I have with them, where like I think a few of them worked for me really well. Like I really liked the Uno's line calling out Ortega's, like, you know what that thing is. Scotty isn't even here to annoy. Like I thought that was really funny. I thought that was a really well delivered line. I thought it was a funny line, and I thought it was like the first of those that had worked for me in like 5 minutes of show, and that's a little bit of a low hit rate.
Yeah. Okay, fair. They landed with me.
Yeah.
It was fine with me. Part of the reason this kind of stuff works for me is part of the way I cope with stress is I deflect with humor, and me saying something smart alecky is usually how I do that. So for me, that worked. The whole of the whole concept of this is how we're going to disable this thing. Like what? Like yes, I felt the what's the right word? The skepticism that we see Ortegas and La'an kind of face with Una, but at the same time, we're getting to see Una really take the lead and do captainy kinds of things. Show like okay. Because I just don't feel like we always get enough time with Rebecca Romijn.
That's fair.
And I think let's have her show her quality and to show like okay, this is a very unpleasant situation we found ourselves in, but we've got to keep a cool head. Let's follow through. Let's shoot it in the soft palette because that's going to be softer than dinosaur scales. Which that makes sense. So.
Yeah, that's fair. Did you guys catch this one note here where apparently it's Mr. Scott who has updated the phasers to include a new disintegration feature? And are we effectively crediting engineer Montgomery Scott with creating a weapon of mass destruction?
I thought it was just the new phasers had that. it was like they're more powerful than the old ones. I don't think it was Scotty that necessarily invented it.
I missed that little bit.
I'll go back and
He
listen.
tells them about the disintegration function.
Oh,
but
maybe I
I don't think
misinterpreted
was him
it
that did it.
as that being the case. Like maybe he just gave them the new ones. But I was like, whoa, are we just glossing over this? Because that's like genocide that we're doing.
I mean, phasers change what they do throughout the show and the movies.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
think about the phasers. Those are standard phasers in Wrath of Khan, and they disintegrate the fuck out of people.
Oh, you're gone. That's just dangerous, man. Definitely noticed a small plot hole between the action in space and the action on the planet. Even before they get comms up, it seems that the away team automatically seems to know that they're 65 million years in the past. Spock figures it out on the ship, but the away team is already on the prehistoric Earth, arguing over how to get around the dinos before that's actually revealed. So I thought that was interesting. It's not a major thing, just, I catch these things. And then somehow they also know about the Martians. There are no establishing shots between the Enterprise getting snagged by the Martians and the away team learning of this. All we hear is Scotty saying, "I'll be right back," and then he doesn't come back. Just interesting.
Missed that.
No, I caught that too. I just assumed that they'd had a chat off screen. And
Yeah,
that
because when
off-screen
we
stuff,
see
man.
them, they're back
Yeah.
and they kind of are caught up with what the situation is.
Yeah. Let's talk about meeting the Martians. I thought this was super cool. I love the trope, like we don't know who they are, sensors are down, we don't know where we are, we don't know when we are, and then they are snagged. The Enterprise is caught in this tether, and they're about to be boarded. What do you guys think about this?
Yeah, at this point, you're still supposed to think that they're in unknown space, so it's just a random alien ship that they've encountered wherever they've ended up, and they're proceeding on that assumption, and then you find out they're in the past, and oh no, now this is a temporal prime directive situation, which doesn't exist yet because they only started calling it prime directive like 2 years ago. So it's but they know that they have to be very careful not to step on any bugs, so it speaks, otherwise they might destroy their entire future, and that creates a lot of tension with the first contact situation, which is addressed where Pike says, "I'm going to assume that there's nothing I can do that will ruin the future." It's like, yeah, Pike, because nothing you ever do ruins the future.
Yeah.
That's something that you never have to worry about, does it? So
I did like the kind of the golden age sci-fi trope of like this like ancient advanced alien civilization. I did think it was like an interesting distinction that they were making, or that Pike was making at one point, about like, well, we need to treat it like any first contact with any like pre-warp civilization. Like, this is a really advanced civilization. Like, I'll take it that you say they're pre-warp, but like, do you know that for sure? Like, it's a massive ship that's just taken yours prisoner. What do you mean pre-warp? Like, you have no idea what they're capable of. They're walking through your walls, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I gotta say, I really love the visual of the tractor beam. I mean, it looked like, gosh, I don't even know. It looked like it had encased the Enterprise in some sort of, I don't know, space force field that is also a tractor beam. I thought that looked really cool. But when they first, realized that they were caught in something, I was just waiting for the giant hand.
Hand of God.
But yeah, I was like, hand of God. We got the hand of God. Nope. We just got.
Too early even for that. That's what.
I know. It's like, wait a minute now. They can't put that here because timeline. But I really loved the aesthetic, and I really love the aesthetics of the Martian ship. Like we've been saying all episode, this is very classic Golden Age sci-fi in look, and I just thought it looked so cool. So just from a mere aesthetic point of view, I think that's really interesting. Good catch on the Spock, I don't know that they're pre-warp if they just, they've got us, hogtied for want of better terminology.
Yeah, well, the Enterprise is far from at full strength.
Yeah.
So it is vulnerable at that point.
I really like the world building note of how the universal translator wasn't getting every translation correct. There's a big point where Pike is talking about, well, we're alone.
Yeah.
and it's mistranslated by the Martian to think of we're widowed, and the specific phrase that he had used that translated to them. So there was a sense of like, and of course when the Martian says it back to Captain Pike, that of course, you know, brings up Pike's loss with Maria Battelle and the loss of potential and everything there. Another thing I wish we could have gotten into a little bit more in this episode, just like what's Pike's mindset as he's going through this. We see the face acting. We see him like furrow his brow real tightly, and like that sense of grief is there. But this could have been a great opportunity for a, you know, commercial break, and then captain's log, supplementary, you know, here we are, blah, 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 and then going on and on and on. I miss those mid-episode, you know, captain's log, supplementary, or medical officer, or whoever.
It's weird because the episodes do still fade to black as if they're cutting to an advert break, but they obviously they don't because they're on streaming.
Well, that's for the people who are on the ad, you know, free
Watching on
tier
Pluto,
versus the ad tier. Yeah.
Oh no, they don't care about ad placement and the ad tiers on streaming services. They'll stick it in mid-sentence
sure will.
sometimes.
Rude.
Yeah.
Rude. Yeah, I thought it was. I really enjoyed the back and forth between Cassell and Pike. It was one of skepticism, but also like attempt at understanding and compassion. In particular, the scene you just mentioned, Mike, where she's like, our translator translated that word as widower, and I'm sorry for your loss. And you know, I thought that was a really fascinating way to see how, yes, we are your methodology is benevolence until benevolence is no longer possible. And he's like, yeah, pretty much. And I'm like, huh, you know, maybe perhaps not always the most effective, but you know, there's that. I think that's it was interesting back and forth between the two of them because of they're coming at it from such different perspectives. I really like that. And even though, yeah, we're dismayed that, you know, she and her henchgoons like phase through the floor and take their uridium, but you understand how she got there. Like, you've been honest with me up until this point, and you understand why Pike did it, but at the same time, she's like, well, you've lied to me, and now I can't trust you. So, you know, this is a really it's a really tragic and maybe a little bittersweet episode for those reasons, where, yeah, your attempts at benevolence have failed because you couldn't convey XYZ. So, yeah, it's a difficult one, and one I think, as we've been saying this entire time, is that really echoes Golden Age sci-fi.
Well, the cultural differences was the most interesting part of the episode for me. It was this is an episode about people being on rails, right? The Enterprise is completing its role in a time loop. You know, it's ultimately, this can't play out any other way. It has already happened. It will always happen. This is just the way it is. And you've got Cassell, who's been in war her entire life, so she doesn't know anything else, and her mindset is very fixed. She won't deviate it from a second, even though Pike says, isn't this other way worth considering what we can offer you? And she says, yeah, I'll consider it briefly, but then she goes about it anyway. Pike is similarly stuck in his ways. He's bound by his principles, and he wants to find the peaceful way out of it, and he also wants to preserve his own future. And how many times have we seen in Star Trek stories where people are questioning, which future is the better future? Who's to say that our future is the one that should come to pass? What about this future that you want to build, where your people thrive? You know, are we arrogant enough to assume that we must exist because we came from a timeline where we did exist? You had that argument in season 2 when you had alternate Kirk and La'an in the 21st century, and it was like, well, my timeline isn't that bad, actually. Yeah, Earth's devastated, but we have, I don't know, drinks and stuff that we like. I don't know, it's all right. It could be worse. But it's this idea of you automatically assume that the way things went for you is the better way for it. So the characters are all on rails, and they can't escape them. And that's what I was alluding to earlier, where Pike is grieving over Battelle, who completed her role within a time loop. You know, she had to take her place as the Guardian, that because it had already happened. And now Pike's doing the same, and he also has to do it again. in the future when he gets in the pain share. That's just his eventuality. That's what he's supposedly accepted. I'm pretty sure we're going to get him swithering over it once again this season. He probably is going to have some crisis of faith once again. But in this, the reflection point for Pike could have been, turns out I was just playing my part. Turns out I was always supposed to do this. And how do we have any choice in this universe? That's a really powerful point for someone to mull over. And they frame it through these cultural differences of, this is the way I think and therefore I can't act any other way. This is the way you think and therefore you can't act any other way. And that's what creates the imbalance, because neither of them will back down because they both think that their way is the better way.
The conclusion of the episode, as you were just alluding to there, Craig, what is it? What is the term used in the finale of Prodigy? I know the name of those final two episodes were Ouroboros, where you're in a self-causal
the snake
time
eating
paradox.
its own tail.
Yeah. Like basically you're in like some sort of time paradox because of that. I like Janeway. Time travel gives me a headache. So I can't keep the terms straight. But it made me think of that. Like, I had to do it because I've already done it.
Yeah. And Pike seemed to have a choice at the moment that he was going to fire or not fire on the Martian ship. He could have prevented it, but he chose not to, because on some level he realized that this is the way that the future happens, or my future happens. And he has to accept that fact. But it misses out on the reflection point of Pike realizing that's what Marie did. And now I'm doing it, and I'm going to have to do it again. There really needed to be that conversation with someone, with Una, with Mbenga, with whoever, just to hammer that home, that Pike's realized that's I'm stuck. We're all stuck. Like, do we have any choice? Because it was quite a somber episode in that way, and it could have ended on that somber note of, are we just all on rails here? Is there any point in what we're doing out here?
Ian, what are your thoughts on how this all shook out?
I agree with Craig. I wish that there had been a bit more woven into the actual text of the episode of Pike grappling with these feelings in the wake of Patel's loss. There was also one line at the very end where he's talking about the commander of the Martians and saying, she wanted to protect her people. I would have done the same thing. And I was just like, what? You would have stolen antimatter from a friendly stranger and used it to commit planetary genocide? I'm pretty sure you spent the whole episode arguing something very different, my friend. That just struck me as a little bit of an odd thing to say at that moment. Like, really, you'd done the same thing? Not a similar but slightly but importantly different thing. You would have done the same thing. Okay, buddy.
It was convenient that he didn't have to do it.
Right.
That's why he
right.
says
Yeah.
it.
And that is the thing. I do.
As long as there's no follow-up questions, absolutely,
right.
I
do think a little bit similar to what Craig was saying about how some of the dinosaur action might have felt like it lacked a bit of the emotional weight of the horror of being confronted with those creatures in that context. But I was wishing for I know the episode overall had this kind of somber tone, but just a little bit more grappling with the weight of that decision, even if it wasn't quite a decision, grappling with whether or not it was a decision. Like, all of that is rich stuff to explore, and it feels like it's all for us to take with us and explore on our own, rather than the episode grappling with it at all.
Yeah. And then Starfleet censoring the whole thing. We can't let people know about this. We can't rewrite the history books. It actually reminds me of all this stuff that you can see. You can watch videos on the Martian civilization that existed before we did and things like that. There's these theories that exist of the face of Mars contains a dead city or whatever it is. And they're quite fun to visit, but these stories also include the government's hiding it from us, which is just exactly what ends up happening here. Starfleet's like, you're not having that. We're not letting you know that this exists.
Admiral April with his knowing
Next time
smile.
on In Search of.
Yeah, the Enterprise crew are like, they need to stop making us NDA on every bloody
tell
mission.
any.
We already
We've
have to
officially
deny
gone on
that
one
this
mission
stuff
this year.
existed.
God damn it!
Everybody else just thinks we're on shore leave the whole other time.
How many missions did we
There's these
classify
mysterious
last
gaps
season?
in the logs. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, the Enterprise being responsible for human evolution is a real fun trip to go on.
Yeah, it's one for Kirk and Spock to discuss over the
Yeah,
chessboard, isn't
yeah.
it? So so technically, I'm responsible
Whenever
for your
he's next,
existence,
just
Kirk.
randomly hanging out on the ship, which is all the time, apparently.
Yep. I do like that instead of Pike getting promoted, he turns around and offers the promotion to Una, which I'm not sure.
So apparently, it's a transferable.
One of those
like, I guess
fancy
Starfleet's just
transferable
like,
promotions.
Anyone
would you
can
like to
have
have
it.
it instead?
It's like, we know there's no budget. It's not a matter of clearing like budget for a promotion. It doesn't work that way.
Also, couldn't Pike just promote Una anyway?
He's a captain. He can do whatever he
I-
wants.
technically, he's could. It's his prerogative. Ian, I know you're a little short on time here, so I just want to quickly ask you, overall, any final takeaways, anything that rankled you, or anything that gets you excited looking forward?
I think we've talked about the little quibbles that we have with the episode. I think again this is a solid, like, to me, solid like B episode, in a good sense, in the kind of Americans. It's a solid grade. I think if someone was to ask if, like, hey, what's a random episode of Strange New Worlds that I could throw on to kind of get a sense of the show, like, this would give you a pretty good sense of the show, for better or worse. I think it's a pretty, I think it's a pretty illustrative episode of the sort of standard Strange New Worlds episode of the week adventure, and I'm happy with it. If it's more of this sort of, I know we have issues sometimes with the tone, but I think if it's more of this kind of episode this season, we'll be pretty happy. We'll see.
Fair, yeah. Craig, let's come to you. Any final thoughts on this?
So for me, it was the Cassell Pike stuff that was most compelling, and I really wish it had taken it further with the lack of agency that the Enterprise crew have in this situation. We're just here to play our part. We're just here to get to the end of that royale. How grim is that? It's going to be. It's difficult to parse the fact that we may not be in control of our own destinies in any way. Something Pike grapples with quite frequently. So I wish they'd taken that bit further. I could have taken or left the dinosaurs. Really, I wish they'd taken it more seriously. But generally, it was a good episode. I got a lot out of the Pike and Cassell stuff. I think that was some really compelling character stuff, cultural differences, all that stuff. So it's something this show has been missing, doing deep dives into those sorts of things. So I was glad to see it finally.
Yeah, I had a good time with this one. This, to me, felt like more of a return to form. This made me feel like I was watching season 1 of Strange New Worlds. It felt, because maybe it's the classic sci-fi feel, maybe it's because it felt like this could have been an episode of TOS had they the budget and special effects capability. I really enjoyed it, and I hope we get more of this style of episode this season. Yeah.
You could see exactly where it was going when it was like a fifth planet, Jupiter. No, there's another fifth planet that wasn't there before. It's like, okay, now I know. Now we know where we're going.
I feel like one thing I would take away from this episode is the insectoid creatures themselves. I understand why they did not want to create like another race with its whole ideology and philosophy, and they just wanted to create something that just has to be eradicated. And the humans and bipedal, creatures and mammals, nothing is more repulsive than an insect, I feel like. So I get why they went that route, but it does beg the question of why did these insect creatures have their own M-class planet, but they created interstellar flight enough to get to Mars and also to Earth, and they developed their own cryostasis pods? Like, this is clearly a very highly intelligent insect species, and we're definitely committing a genocide, for better or for worse, for the passage of human history. But that's just something that, like the Twilight Zone would make these huge, like, sweeping statements about the human condition and then just leave you with it and be like, there it is. You get to think about this now. Good luck. And this felt a little similar to that, and I understand for runtime and the sake of the story, et cetera, but there's a lot going on with that part of the story that I just, I want to get into, especially, as a big fan of Starship Troopers. I feel like there was another angle to go with here.
Yeah, I think weighting it from the Martian perspective was deliberate, in the sense of we can't, for time or budget reasons, show these two alien races competing with one another, but also the limited perspective is sort of the point. It's the idea of we're only getting Cassell's point of view on this sort of thing, and Pike is offering, well, you don't understand your adversary. You just think that they're out to get you, and that may be the case. It seems like they're just trying to survive. Maybe their planet is dying. I don't know. Maybe that's why they need to leave it. There's all sorts of questions that can be answered by communicating with them. Whereas I guess that communication isn't happening because they're just fighting. And we don't know if they're benevolent or malevolent, or if their point of view is that the Martians are monsters. Certainly they're capable of blowing up their planet, so there's some kind of dodgy morality going on there. But I think the point is you didn't even try to speak to them, and we never even got there before you killed them. And that's part of the tragedy.
It is. Overall, I agree with Ian too. Like, this is a great episode just to put on and introduce someone to. It delivers on that philosophical moral quandary. I feel like there's really good action, and the dinosaurs are it was fun. It was a fun sort of aside. And I really enjoyed La'an breaking her hand too. That was fun.
How long until that closing scene is rescored by someone on YouTube to include Jurassic Park?
Oh yeah, it's gonna happen.
I mean, the one line that we didn't talk about, talking about quippy, smart alecky lines, is you just punched a dinosaur. Yeah. Which was literally what I said out loud when I saw her do it. It's like, she just punched a dinosaur.
And then the clumsy, I'm worried I'm becoming Khan or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I do. Because I want the people that don't show up in Strange New Worlds, like Una, that don't show up in TOS, like Una, La'an, Ortegas. I want them all to go off on, be on their own ship and be doing other things. Please don't give me a tragic ending for La'an. I will be very sad.
I don't think the show has it in it to do that.
I don't think we're getting happy endings. No.
I don't like it. We'll see. We'll see.
With that, folks, that concludes our coverage of episode 1. I'm going to give it a go. Valles Marineris. I tried. That's my Latin.
That works for me, bud.
Spaghetti Marinara. Great episode. Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 4, Episode 1, back in fighting form. It feels good to be talking Trek again, guys. Thank you all for joining us on another season of our Star Trek coverage. You can check out our full listing of episodes over at www.wearestarfleetpod.com, where you can also learn more about us, your hosts. My name is Mike Slamer. With me has been Craig McKenzie, Ashley Thomas, and Ian Buckley. Do connect with us on our socials at Starfleet Pod on Blue Sky, Instagram, and also Threads. A big thank you to you, the listener. Hopefully you've liked everything you've heard, and if so, please consider giving us a 5-star review on your podcast platform. That is the best way to tell more people about us. And like we mentioned, we're now part of the Trek Geeks network of podcasts, which features shows such as the Crusher Convo, the Brian Donahue podcast, Sci-Fi Sisters, and more. You can find more at trekgeeks.com. Thanks, folks. Been great having you here, and we'll see you next week for episode 2 of Strange New Worlds.